crime fighters know one way to catch the bad guys is to follow the money.
I saw the plane hit the building.
But even as the attacks on New York and Washington in 2001 redefined the meaning of bad guys, it also launched a different kind of war, one waged with surveillance cameras and computer databases. Matthew Levitt is director of the Counterterrorism and Intelligence Program at the Washington Institute.
Combating the financing of transnational threats, it turns out, is an effective way of disrupting our adversaries' activities.
After 9/11, it became clear the terrorists needed more than ideology to launch their attacks. U.S. intelligence started combing through data, watching travel patterns, electronic communications, and the movement of money.
If you send me money, that means something. It might not mean that you're important or I'm important, but that we are middlemen in something that is more important. So you can follow those transfers then up and down the financial pipelines and ultimately figure out where they came from, figure out where they're going.
To do that, the U.S. created a new agency within the Treasury Department. Stuart Levy at the Council on Foreign Relations is the former head of the department's Terrorism and Financial Intelligence section.
It's the first and thus far only finance ministry in the world with a full-fledged intelligence office, but it reflects an important insight, which is that financial intelligence is highly reliable.
Since then, the agency has learned that money to carry out the 9/11 attacks, about $500,000, was funneled through banks in Europe and the Middle East to the hijackers waiting in the United States. Some of that information came from a Brussels-based banking consortium known as SWIFT, or Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication.
This database that I'm talking about is one that was subpoenaed from a private sector entity that provides messaging services.
Using those databases, the U.S. government ordered a freeze on the assets of groups and individuals with known ties to terrorist groups. It also led to the capture of al-Qaeda operatives, including the man known as Hambali, the mastermind in the 2002 bombing of a Bali resort. But the government's ability to tap financial information provoked concerns about privacy and the potential for abuse.
People thought we were kind of combing through the information and doing all sorts of, just looking at it however we wanted. And in fact, we had put in place very strict controls.
One nation under God.
The biggest breakthrough in the war on terror came this past May, when U.S. commandos killed Osama bin Laden at a private compound in Pakistan. U.S. officials say information seized during the raid confirms al-Qaeda is under financial stress.
Osama bin Laden was a charismatic leader. He was important for their fundraising, he was important for their recruiting, and he was important for the unity of the organization. So it's a tremendous achievement, and it's a tremendous development in the fight against al-Qaeda. What it hasn't done is eliminate the threat.
That's because terror groups are constantly adapting. Some are turning to criminal pursuits, drug smuggling, and kidnappings to fund operations. And as the money dries up, the trend is shifting to smaller, less expensive attacks. Regardless of their size, Matt Levitt says it pays to follow the money.
It's true that any given attack is relatively inexpensive, but it's a myth that because any given terrorist attack is inexpensive, following the money is ineffective. It's quite the opposite. A, if you need $5,000, even if it's not a lot of money, but you can't get $5,000, we win.
But it doesn't mean terror attacks will cease. Experts say a multi-pronged approach that stops the flow of money while confronting an ideology bent on indiscriminate killing is going to require continued vigilance, commitment, and the world's cooperation for years to come. Mil Arcega, VOA News.